Welcome to the Focus and Chill podcast, where we discuss productivity tactics that work for neurodivergent individuals.
Every episode, we interview guests with lived experience of neurodiversity who also have a solid productivity and habit game, and pass the learnings on to you, our wise and benevolent audience.
We're your hosts, Jeremy and Joey.
I'm Joey, and I coach creatives to get moving on their most ambitious projects through the power of solid habits and strong focus. I'm also a perpetual student of psychology and perpetually on a quest to a one-armed chin-up.
And I'm Jeremy, a neurospicy software developer turned startup founder, building the Focus Bear app to help people with ADHD and autism thrive at work. My cool party trick is leaving parties early so I can get to sleep in time for my 2-hour-long morning routine. The Focus and Chill podcast is brought to you by Focus Bear, a focus enhancement app for AuDHDers. That's adults with both combined autism and ADHD. I'm Jeremy, I'm an AuDHDer myself. I'm the founder of Focus Bear and also one of the hosts of this podcast. I built Focus Bear for myself originally because I was constantly getting distracted by my phone and my laptop. I wanted a way to tame my ADHD monkey mind so I'd stop going down rabbit holes and actually get work done, but also get off my computer and my phone in the evening so I'd be able to sleep properly. It's working perfectly for me and it's helping a lot of ADHDs as well. I'd love for you to try it. It's available for Mac, Windows, iOS, and Android, and it leverages most of the productivity strategies we talk about on the podcast. You can jump onto focusbear.io or just Google Focus Bear and try it out. Let me know what you think. Welcome to episode number 105 of the Focus and Chill podcast. Today it's Joey and I, and we're talking about a few things, including dumb goals, a fun alternative to smart goals. We've also got some other things that we've been toying around with recently, the pros and cons of building your own utilities and the downside, which might be the optimization trap, how to do hard, boring things like your tax return. And I'm going to get some advice from Joey about replacing my second brain. So let's start with the dumb goals, because I think that's a fun thing to consider. We got started by talking about how New Year's resolutions are probably fading out by now. We're recording this in April. And the point is, how can you continue making progress without it feeling like a grind?
It's tricky, isn't it? Because I think sometimes the grind and the discomfort actually comes from the fact that the task in front of you is something important. And so there's a certain amount of risk because there's value at stake. I think it can be tricky. Like, for example, I've recently made a decision to get back into the workforce. And so I've been applying for jobs. I don't think there's anyone out there that thinks that applying for jobs is fun, especially these days when it seems like every second or third job seems to be a fake posting. I saw some, well, you see who, like, depending on which thread you look at on Hacker News, some people are just like completely in despair because they think that pretty much every post they look at is a fake post. I can tell you, I was looking at a post and it said, send us a resume as soon as possible. And then it said, hiring manager on sabbatical until October.
What? Nothing.
What? October 2025 as well. I was actually going to get a screenshot of that and post it on LinkedIn, but I'll blur out the faces and stuff like that. But I was just like, you just never know how it can come back to you, right? But that aside, with that uncertainty of the uncertainty that you already have when it comes to like throwing your line out there and not being sure what's going to bite back. Now you've got these other factors like not being even sure if it's a real job posting because there's businesses out there that do it as a signal to say like, hey, things are going great. We're hiring. Whereas they don't actually have the budget to hire.
Oh, is that why I wasn't understanding the concept of fake jobs?
Oh, okay.
I was thinking it was those work from home scams where they say you can earn $300,000 per year working from home. Just have to sign a few checks. But you're saying it's a marketing exercise essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So some people think it's like every other job, and some people say it's like 1 in 10. But it's always in the back of your mind and like going, geez, what if this application that I'm putting a lot of effort into is actually just for nothing? And that's on top of just like the fickleness of it, of like basically like going, oh, like I'm one of the first people on this job application and I'm sending my job application through. So I'll probably be at the top of the recruiter's pile, right? So it's just like as this extra layer of uncertainty. And this is a very long way of saying it can be a grind. But the important part of it is actually the uncertainty and the discomfort. And the reason why I'm raising this example is because I tried to make it fun by automating certain parts of the pipeline with like LLMs and stuff like that. And that is so much fun, so much fun. But it can be easy to get carried away with that stuff. And in making the goal fun, it's just like kind of drawing it out a little bit, where I could just get in and smash 5 to 10 job applications in 90 minutes or something like that. But instead it takes probably close to my whole day because I'm optimizing this process. It might pay dividends. It is paying me dividends right now because I've just hacked it together. But the reason why I haven't fallen into it is because I am fairly paranoid about falling into this trap of just making it fun and then having the task go longer than I wanted to, where I could be just out walking in nature or playing video games or spending time with my family and stuff like that. Yeah.
I guess it's a bit of a question about productivity as a whole, because we're talking about you've got a week and you want to do, say, 50 job applications. And if you were to grind it out and actually write a cover letter from scratch, most people would automate that, just putting it into GPT in some way. It might be that, like you said, you could do 10 per day that would be relatively high quality. Or in a week, you might spend 3 days building this system. And then after you build it, then you can do 25 in 2 days and you achieve the same result.
Yeah, that's it. And I guess it is also it's a compounding asset as well, right? Because I guess like you build it once, and unless like the recruiters are in an arms race with you to shut down whatever automation you have, assuming that doesn't happen, then it can be a compounding asset that pays you further down the line. I'm expecting that the job search will take around 3 months to get an acceptable offer. So if you build that early on, it can actually make life a lot easier for you while having things be fun as well. So I'm not actually sure what my point is here, Jess, because I feel like I've just come around full circle by saying don't get into optimization trap. And now I'm saying the optimization trap can help you.
But I guess it still exists that if you're saying you've got 3 months, it wouldn't be a good idea for you to spend 2 months and 2 weeks building the perfect script that fully automates it, because there's still some parts of it. You still have to attend interviews, I presume, these days.
Yeah, that's it. I think the rule of thumb that I used was basically I treated it like dessert. So I was like, okay, so grind away and do like 5 job applications. And then once you've had your veggies, then you can try automating certain parts of it. With this particular task, it's good as well because you're very close to the task. So it's not just this abstract thing that you're automating. It's like you're very much in there in the pain, and you can got a very good idea of what the biggest pain points are and what's the low-hanging fruit and stuff. So I think that mixture really helped me as well. And because I had the contrast as well between doing the pain up front and then having the dessert later on and knowing that it's going to reduce the pain as well, that's a pretty good cycle to be in.
Yeah, and I think that's a good approach to delegation as well, that you have to do it yourself for a few times so you understand the limits to it and what the hard parts are.
Yeah.
Would you be open to sharing what parts of the pipeline you have automated?
Oh, yeah, sure. But there's a danger that I'll just probably take the whole episode talking about it because I love it. I'm so proud of it. It's basically generating the cover letter from a text file with the job description. And it is a copy and paste because if you go to Seek, they've kind of shut down the pages quite a lot. And I haven't really dug into the screen scraping I could do with Selenium and stuff. So it's just basically opening up, copying it into this file with the URL. And the pipeline will look in this folder, this unprocessed folder, and it'll pick up a file, it'll open it up, and it's got like a 2-stage process. There'll be one prompt that will go in and it will clean up the job description. So it'll basically take all the Seek cruft out of it. Beware, like when sending your credit card and all the stuff at the top. And I can't remember this part's live or not yet, but it's had this parts where the employer talks about themselves and then there's the specific job description. So all that is like extra tokens, right? And so I have in the works, and it might be live, but I have in the works, it separates all the employer talking about themselves type craft, and it basically gets the LLM basically condenses that into 1 to 3 sentences. And then it takes the job description, responsibilities and stuff like that as is, and it sends it to the next part, which basically says, okay, given this cleaned up job description and this resume, tell me what the intersection between this is and create a cover letter for me, and has basic formatting things throughout the prompt. and then it generates the cover letter in a docx format, drops it into a process folder, and is ready for me to come back around and look at it. The other output to that is a little analysis of basically saying, this is what your skills fit is like. Expect these questions, probing where the gaps are in between the job description and the resume.
Nice. And then you still have to manually email it to the hiring manager or fill out the form, but
that's it.
You've then, I guess, got a prioritized list as well based on that second output that you can figure out which ones you have the closest match with.
In theory, yes. But in practice, the LLM says everything is an 8 out of 10. So yeah, the future of that is to basically give it more calibrated output about what a 1 looks like and what a 10 looks like. I've actually told it a 1 basically means don't even bother applying for this job, and 10 means you'd be silly not to apply for this job. I'd like to maybe give it a dictionary to basically say 1 means don't apply for this job. 5 means it's pretty good, but it's a long shot kind of thing. And all those definitions in between to guide it a little bit more. Then yes, great to get a more meaningful skills gap. But mainly the benefit of that is qualitative, because it just basically gives me an idea of what questions I might be asked. And it gives me a bit more confidence when I go up to the first screen and go like, okay, well, I prepared for the last time I went for interviews was probably like around 2021. And so it was a while ago. And so I feel like I've got like a lot of ring rust. And so having those 2 to 3 questions in front of me at least makes me feel a little bit oriented and lets me feel a little bit prepared. Might be placebo, who knows?
Okay. And you still do the screening part yourself of identifying what job posts are likely to be a fit?
Yeah, it's pretty coarse grained because now the applications feel fairly cheap to create. So yeah, like they basically get sent to my email into a label just called jobs, like from different sources. And then I go through, open up all the tabs, and then do all the copies, and then as in do all the copies and make all the files, all the unprocessed files, and then get the LLM to do its magic. But one thing I'd love to do is to see whether I could get Selenium to work off an existing browser instance. I know it generally opens a new browser instance and stuff, but if I can get it to work off an existing browser instance and then get like every tab or from tab 3 onwards and do this copy and paste, that'll be great. I'm pretty sure it's doable, right? Just haven't looked into it too much.
Yeah, maybe look into Tamper Monkey, because that
Tamper Monkey, okay.
Yeah, it's a way of making almost like Chrome extensions, but they're a lot faster to make. And you can install it into your existing Chrome instance.
Okay.
If you wanted to do the Selenium thing, an option using WebDriver IO, I know where you can set a profile to use and then it will stay logged into that.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Well, sounds like a really efficient way to go about it. And maybe you'll end up getting a job that involves some form of automation.
The funny thing is that I hadn't actually included it in my resume until this morning. I was on the phone with a contact and they were asking me like, have I tinkered around with LLMs? I said, oh, have I ever? And so I was telling him about the projects that I've been playing around with, and this came up and he was like, no, tell me how it works again. I was like, oh. And like, I had second thoughts about telling him because he was not a gatekeeper, but like he was kind of sussing me out for a particular job. So I was like, I'm feeling a little bit cagey, but it sounds like you're impressed by this. So I'm just going to spill all the tea.
I'll spill my tea as well and share. I had something similar today where I've been looking for grants to apply for FocusBear. And it can be a tedious process because the websites where grants are listed tend to not have very good search or filtering functionality. I wrote a script using Puppeteer that does web scraping where it goes onto the website and it takes the unstructured data from the HTML and then finds the grant title and description and the agency, and then it passes it into GPT-4o Mini and asks it do what you were describing before of give it a score from 0 to 1 as to whether it's a fit or not. And that definitely was a huge time saver for me because there were 153 grants available currently, and it came up with a short list of 7. They're ones that are probably worth applying for.
That's really cool. I think also what we're talking about with this scoring of different opportunities is, I don't know how you sort your to-do list, but it is kind of like what I do with my to-do list as well. I give things like a complexity estimate. There's basically three things: complexity, uncertainty, and impact. And so based off that score, like it determines like what is going to be the most value for effort type thing. And it seems like you're doing a similar thing with your grants, right? Like as in which ones will be the most likely if you apply for them, what's going to be the most likely, so you're going to get the most value or the most return on your effort.
Yeah, I haven't really gone into that level of detail about out of those 7, which are the ones that are worth applying for first. Because it's basically, most of them are completely irrelevant. They're things like defense grants or aged care. And it's just not even worth really looking at that in detail. And then because there's only 7, I can manually make that decision about which one is worth looking at first.
Yeah.
Because there was one that was really complicated and maybe I could apply for it, but definitely the effort is massive and the likelihood of getting it is pretty low. But when you were talking about those 3 attributes, that made me think about the email processing script that I've been working on.
Oh.
Because I think I've talked about in a few episodes that I've struggled with my inbox.
Okay.
And I've realized that the issue is I can't actually make those decisions about the complexity, uncertainty, and impact from the way that Gmail sets up the interface. Because the way that I was approaching it was at one point I had the 7 different stars enabled, where you can have a yellow star, a blue star, you can have a red exclamation mark, you can have a blue info icon.
Yeah.
And they were meant to mean something, but I couldn't get it to stick in my head. I typically just use yellow and blue star. And it meant that when I'd come to process my flagged emails, I didn't really have any order to them. And it just felt an impossible situation to figure out what should I do first. And I also found it irritating the way that if I wanted to snooze an email for later, it takes quite a lot of clicks to do that, even with keyboard shortcuts.
Yeah.
So I wrote a Google app script that takes my starter emails and puts them into a Google Sheet. I've got the priority score rules where if I've snoozed it many times, then it probably means it's not that important. So it moves to the bottom. If it's a priority sender, then it goes pretty high to the top. And then if I apply the deadline or urgent labels, they go quite high. And if it's been a long time and I still haven't replied, it gets a higher score. So that means then, don't look at the detail, but I've got my flagged emails and I've got 63 in there.
Yeah.
It's quite fast for me to process it because I can come in here and I can write something like snooze until Sunday, or I can do MUN or 5 days. That's a lot faster for me than the way that it is in the Gmail interface.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's also, I find there's something very dopamine rich about the Gmail interface where I get excited by new emails and when there's a reply, whereas this is the opposite. It's very low dopamine intentionally. And I found that I can get through my flagged emails really quickly. I can do the triage in 5 minutes and go through 50 of them. And about half of them, I'll just say, I don't need to deal with them today. I'll snooze them until later and I'll leave a note for each of them, which is another thing that Gmail doesn't allow me to do.
Yeah. So you enter that stuff in the spreadsheet. Now, does that become your email manager, or do you upload it back into Gmail somehow and it applies all those things?
If I put those little short codes like 7D for 7 days later, or if I put Y in the remove star column, there's then a script that runs every 15 minutes that processes those actions. And I've got another one where I can draft a reply. I can put a few dot points and then it uses GPT-4 to draft an email for me. In my tone of voice, I've given it a style guide and some examples of other emails that I've written.
That's good.
Yeah, it doesn't work perfectly yet. There's a few things I need to optimize. And it has meant, going back to the point we were making earlier, that I've been slower replying to my emails. But from about Monday to Wednesday, I was very slow replying to my emails because I was focusing on the script instead. but now I've been a lot faster dealing with it.
Mm. Yeah, email, I think that's a great way to manage it. I think email is like one of those tough things. I think emails and just like any kind of asynchronous messaging that comes in, it seems to, a lot of people I know seem to deal with it like it's a task list that needs to get action straight away, generally. And we're never really taught how to manage it. And most of the suppliers don't teach us how to manage it either. Like I had Gmail for I got Gmail in 2006. So I've had it for 19 years. And only last year I kind of worked out that it's like a label system. So like basically there's a action items, read later, needs reply. I think it's just 3 labels. And so basically those 3 labels can dictate like everything that I need to do in email. And so the read later tends to get processed every Sunday. So it generally means like not today and not tomorrow. That gets processed on a Sunday, batch processed, like newsletters, all kinds of random stuff that's interesting. Then needs reply. If I'm really good, it will happen every afternoon, but I'm not really good. So it's happening every other afternoon. And then action items, they also get processed on a Monday morning when I'm like trying to triage the rest of my to-do list as well.
So you copy the action items into your to-do list then?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's one thing that is missing in my system, that my email inbox or my flagged list had become a mixture of action items and things to reply to and things to read. It feels like it's a bit better now, but I still don't think it's perfect the way that I have it.
Yeah, I think it's, I think email needs to be rethought, right? Because when it first came out, it was just meant to be like email, like it was just meant to be letters, right? And you hardly would ever get to-do items in a letter generally, unless you're getting someone to call it, maybe. That's a big to-do item. But now it's been like Frankenstein into this productivity machine. And I wonder if we're reaching the limits of what it's meant to do.
Yeah, definitely are. And I guess what ends up happening is you have multiple tiers of asynchronous communication. People will stop paying attention to email, and then you have to reach them via SMS or WhatsApp, and then that doesn't work either. So you have to call them, and then people don't answer calls anymore. So you have to send them snail mail if it's really important.
But what you're talking about is like an escalating communication, and each layer is hard. I believe is harder to manage than the last one, right? Because email is generally like fairly easy to manage when you compare it to Slack or Teams or like a Discord, like those like community type apps. So you go to that instant messaging, or you even go to a WhatsApp or a Signal or one of those, or SMS, that they generally don't have like a good way to sort things into reference for later, file for later, action for later, like I was talking about with email. And then if that doesn't work, you go to a call. And so if the person ends up picking up and they're not in a fluster, then hopefully they've got some kind of system for capturing what is going to come out of the call. Because if they don't, then it's going to get lost to the ether probably a lot more quickly than if you had gone to email in the first place.
Or it becomes you send an email and then follow up by calling them to say, hey, can you please read my email?
Sent you an email. I used to work at this place where we used to say that ironically, but I think it also became like when you say it so much, you don't realize if it's ironic or if you're actually being serious. Like you send someone an email and you go up to the desk and go, oh, I sent you an email.
Right. The joys.
The joys.
Now, then looking back at our agenda, we talked about DUM goals a bit, but we didn't actually explain the acronym. Do you want to explain what DUM stands for and where it comes from?
Yeah, so D is for delight driven. So it's oriented around joy, curiosity, or play rather than utility and measurable. So you could track them, but you choose not to. Meaningless, and in brackets on purpose, so intentionally meaningless. They don't serve a high productivity goal, and they're just ends in themselves. And they're breakable. So they're flexible, non-binding. You can quit or change them without guilt. I was thinking maybe
art projects.
Art
video games too.
projects. Yes. Yeah. Definitely. As long as you don't have like a patron or something on the other end. Yeah, I certainly don't. And I think I'm a long way from having a patron.
So you
But
sometimes set yourself up like that when you have to create a CD for your sister's birthday or do a painting.
yeah, got a very good memory. I created a CD for my meditation soundscape for my mum's 60th birthday and yeah, painting for my sister's birthday. Yeah, very good memory.
So there you
My patrons,
yeah.
they pay me in, what do you call it? The funds that I don't have to spend in birthday presents because I can spend it, I can use my sweat.
I guess my conclusion is there's probably a way to inject some of the elements of dumb goals into smart goals as well as a way to reinvigorate them. Because maybe it could be something like setting up a challenge where at the moment I've struggled a bit with my resistance training. I traveled overseas at the start of the year and I got sick when I came back and I resumed training, but I lost some fitness due to not training as much when I was overseas and getting sick.
Yeah.
The loss in momentum has also made me not enjoy training as much. I think previously one of the main draw cards was every week feeling like I was making progress and getting closer to a new PB. And now I've gone quite a bit backwards. And maybe it's time to come back to finding ways to add delight into it so that I actually enjoy the process, even when the progress towards the extrinsic goal is not as far as I would like.
Yeah, you're saying all the things that I guess a lot of our guests have said throughout as well. When they feel a bit stuck, they like to inject a little bit of fun and novelty in them as well.
Yeah, I think Armand Uno probably did a good job around that. He talked about having tried a really rigid morning routine and then deciding to go to something that was a bit more flexible and that allowed him to still work out, but do it in a fun way.
Yeah. One of our first couple of episodes, right?
Episode 8 or 9, I believe.
Oh, good memory.
I've just been going back through them and categorizing them.
Yeah, nice.
The other things we had on our list were, how do you do hard, boring things like your tax return? And you wrote an email newsletter about that. Do you want to share your strategy?
Yeah, so just to refresh my memory, is this the one about how I was talking about if I need to do a bunch of cold calls and then connecting it to something that is bigger, like selling the coloring books? Is that what you're talking about? Or was it actually about tax returns?
No, that's right. I've got the example.
Yeah, so the idea is that at the beginning of the year or whatever reflection point we have, it can be really inspiring to set big, lofty goals. So for example, I remember I was creating this coloring book for adults. It's like coloring in cute animals to show the inner world of factory farmed animals and that they have feelings as well. And they sing to their babies and all these things. So I wanted to create these coloring books. And I said, I want to sell like 100 of them this year. Now, and that feels really inspiring, right? But there's a lot of things I can't control in that. I can't control, I can try to influence people to buy, but in the end, like if people don't have money because of the pandemic, and that's when actually I was trying to sell in 2020, then it's going to be pretty hard to do that, to pull that 100 sales out. And then, so what do you do then? Like the idea is that you try to keep going further and further down that chain until you find things that are well within your control. Like for example, making 100 cold outreaches to people to see whether I can get interest for this coloring book. The thing is that isn't very inspiring, right? Like doing those 100 outreaches can feel quite scary. So where do you find the motivation for that? And so what I found is like being able to connect those two things together is, and to be able to switch between those frames can both give the inspiration of the lofty goal, but also the hard, concrete agency of the smaller goal. And what the vehicle for that is generally like my weekly reflection practice. I go back and I go, okay, so I was trying to set out to do this. Am I doing it? And if I'm not, then is it a motivation thing? And if it's a motivation thing, is it like, how can I make this abstract, loftier goal more enticing, seem more closer, seem more inspiring to basically pull more energy into this concrete, less inspiring goal?
And the similar thing that we talked about earlier was job applications, another hard, boring thing that to make it less hard, you made it fun by automating parts of the process.
Yeah.
And I I'm thinking about it, another example in my day job where we unintentionally created a really laborious process for people when they signed up for a new account, that they had to go through and put in the same information up to 75 different times.
Oh, jeez.
And I had feedback from a customer saying, I know I need to do this, but I'm going to need to have a few beers and put a TV show on in the background or something like that.
It's a real testament to your customers that they stay customers.
I think it was along the lines of the business owner delegated it to their assistant. The poor assistant had to do that. So that's another strategy, but doesn't seem like a very nice thing to do.
No.
Yeah. I guess that the last comment on that is, in this age of fake jobs and diminishing work opportunities, we need to be careful about ending up in a situation where the majority of our workday is doing very grindy, repetitive things and looking at ways to go up a level and automate them. Otherwise, the robots will take our job.
That's
And the very last point is about second brains, which is something we've spoken about a fair bit. Joey, you've got your Zettelkasten as well as your Anki deck.
Yeah.
I've had my Evernote, various notebooks, as a bit like my Zettelkasten, but without the proper linkages between notes. I've got to the point where I'm not loving Evernote anymore. And I think that's a common sentiment, that people feel that the app is bloated and slow. That's the experience for me, that I'm finding that I'm not really looking back at the thousands of notes that I have put in over the last 13 years.
Yeah.
And I really often just want to quickly write things down, and it's not serving the purpose for that. So I'm looking at switching, where I'm probably going to strategically migrate some of the notes.
Yeah.
It's a hard, boring task to move them into a new system. So I'll probably just do some of the key notebooks and leave the rest there and go on to the free plan. But I need to figure out what new system to migrate to.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips? I'm thinking about UpNote as one that's going to work across mobile and desktop. But do you have any other tips or things that would work well across different devices?
So I actually was an Evernote fan as well. I was a fan from 2013 to maybe about 2019. And yeah, I just found it like such a bloated interface. And also because I tend to skimp on the devices that I'm on as well. I used to use fairly cheap things. So I used to feel that performance slowdown quite a lot. I persisted for a couple of years until the end of 2023, and I migrated to OneNote. And so OneNote's been pretty good. It does have its quirks that can take a while to get used to. For example, the tagging that is so nice in Evernote is like very strange in OneNote, but you get used to it. And yeah, over the years, I've probably started using it more. Like I mentioned to you last week, Jez, that my phone died. And so I'm now on a phone that doesn't have an integrated stylus. So I don't handwrite on my phone anymore. So now I use OneNote to take my journaling as well. It's an adjustment, but it's good. It's really nice to be able to do highlighting and stuff like that, which I could do it manually with the stylus, but it wasn't just as nice. But yeah, I'm not going to say that you're going to open OneNote and it's going to be like, oh, I'm in heaven. Where have you been all my life? It'll be a learning process to learn its mental models and stuff. It feels a lot faster. It works across all my devices. It doesn't have any of those. I was a free user of Evernote. I'm a free user of OneNote. And so it doesn't have any device limitations that I can see, or I haven't run up against them, I should say. So yeah, it's been a great replacement for Evernote, and also for Squid now as well, because I don't really use Squid on Android.
I'll add it to my potential comparisons.
To your short list.
And I'll report back that I did finish my expense claim, which was the hard, boring thing that I had to do. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And my approach was to do it in bite-sized chunks. Took me about an hour in total, over a week in 15-minute blocks.
I'm proud of you, Jez.
Well, listeners, I hope this has been helpful. I wish you best of luck with coming up with some dumb goals and escaping the optimization trap. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Focus and Chill podcast. To listen to other episodes, jump onto podcast.focusbear.io. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, or you know someone who'd be a good fit, email us at team@focusbear.io. Otherwise, stay focused, stay chilled, and peace out.